In head over heels love with this man since 10 years, and he has asked me out now. Do I say yes? Guys, it's going to be a little long if you decide to read it. THANKYOU. It all began when we were 13. I am a 23-year-old girl now, but that day, a decade ago, I remember so crystal clear. Even as I type this out, I have a giant grin across my face. I walked into my class, only to spot this new guy who had his first day that day in the school. He was wearing a baby pink buttoned shirt with burgundy stripes on it, and a denim blue jeans and white sneakers. Very glowing brown skin, we both are brown, really messy hair, and really shiny eyes. Back when we were kids I found him rather good looking, and I remember being extremely curious about him. Found out his name is Aki made up. For next 3 years at school, we became friends. Not good friends, but, well, friends. It wouldn't take a rocket scientist to deduce that I had a massive crush on him. I would blush like a tomato around him, get all giddy and giggly when he talked sweet to me, write his homeworks for him, help him with exams, get him candies on his birthdays, and just, OMFG, I was really crazy about him. The entire school knew I am a complete idiot around him. This was my first love or a similar experience. It was unreal. The chemistry was more like what they show you in high school movies, a nerdy introvert girl and that one social butterfly guy. It was stupid movie love for me. It's needless to say that a lot of girls liked him, and he was used to of that attention. He knew that I like him too, of course. I do not blame him for not liking me back, of course. But back then it didn't seem like he didn't like me. He would give really mixed signals. He would flirt a lot, hold my hand sometimes, talk very sweet, sing me songs, enthusiastically read the articles and short stories that I would write, play me the guitar, make me giggle a little more, blush a little more and whatnot. Even his little smiley grinny good morning as soon as I entered the class would make me go dreamy for the rest of the day. After 3 years I had to change my school. Different state, different city. My best friend convinced me to go confess it to him before I left. We were 16, but I was still extremely childish. I decided I would confess. I told him that I liked him. And honestly, I didn't expect him to reciprocate at all. He didn't either. He told me that we are a little too young for this, and well, he saw me as a friend. I was 100% expecting to be friend-zoned, and that's why I wasn't hurt at all. I just wanted to get it off my chest. However, later I found out that he in fact liked someone else from school and was dating her. Now that hurt me, not because he was dating someone else, but just, he could have told me the real reason. Anyways, we were kids, so I changed my school and we stayed friends on social media. At this point we were both 17, about to graduate high school and move towards college. Past 1-1.5 years we were in contact. Minimal contact, but enough to stay updated on each other's lives. One night we had a long heart-to-heart discussion. A true conversation. He was feeling quite low, and began to share with me, began to ask me my pav of things with him back in school, and I told him. I poured my heart out that night. I told him every single little thing I have ever felt about him. He took it all in, got a little teary-eyed. Apparently he knew that I liked him, but not in depth. The girl he was dating in school wasn't actually dating, but yeah, he liked her a lot, and they never dated. He thought of me as a very good friend. Although he was now dating someone, I didn't feel bad. I was past that back then. Did I still feel for him? Not as much as before. In fact, I was happy for him. He moved on, and so did I. I let go of these feelings and started to date someone else. This made us bond even better, especially after that night. I was happy with that setup actually. I quite enjoyed our friendship. Keep in mind we didn't met again yet after I moved. All of this was online. My relationship began to get bitter when I got into college. My ex was an abuser. I was physically assaulted on multiple occasions. When I finally got the courage to get out of that, I was 19, and naturally depressed. Aki was with me the entire time for moral support. Parallelly, his relationship went bad too, and he too broke up. At this point none of us was looking for relationships, but we found solace into each other's friendly company. We were two little digital buddies. However, that understandably slowed down when a year later he started to date again. This relationship of his was a serious one. I didn't want to affect it at all. I respected his then girlfriend a lot, and maintained a healthy distance that allowed me to be his friend, and at the same time be respectful for his girl. I had began to heal too. I was beginning to trust people again, to let go a little again, and safe to say, I came out as a better person after all the depression and trauma. After my degree was finished I moved to a bigger city for further career options. I was 21 at this point. Coincidentally, Aki got a job offer in the same city. By this time we had very minimal contact, hanging by a thin thread, but I still cared for him, if not loved. When he got to know we are in the same city, he instantly begged me to come see him at a cafe where he was going with his friends that night. I was hesitant since I didn't know his friends, but he convinced me that I wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So I agreed. I was numb because perhaps my brain couldn't process that I was going to see him again after so many years. The last time we met, we were little kids. I reached the location he asked me and got off the cab. I waited for him after a brief phone call, and a car pulled up nearby. Man, my heartbeats have never been faster. He stepped out, and it was all slow motion after that. It was winters, so he was in his black boots, a clean black denim, a black high-neck sweater and a leather jacket, which was brown. He was taller than before, of course. His hair were a little longer, a little more wavier, his facial hair groomed out perfectly, some hair messy on his forehead, the same ring that belonged to his grandpa on his finger, just this time it was in his little finger, as kids it was in his ring finger. His hair bouncing as he walked towards me. He was a grown man. I was wearing a mask as it was still after COVID, and he just recognized me without me taking it off and walked straight up to me, telling me how beautiful I have grown up to be. I just couldn't blink. I could hear my heartbeats. I just stared at him without blinking. He leaned down and gave me the most comfortable hug known to mankind. I was too shocked to hug him back, but it felt amazing. He smelled amazing. Man, it was a dream. He guided me towards his car, still telling me how good I was looking, and opened the door for me, and closed it behind me after I was seated. I talked to his friends, got a little familiar with all of them, and then we went to a cafe to have some coffee. Long story short, turns out he broke up because of some unavoidable circumstances, and was in his worst currently. He didn't want to talk about it publicly, so he asked me to come over at his place that he shared with his friend the next Friday. I agreed, and I went. We cooked dinner, talked about life, caught up with each other in a more comforting setting. He had grown inside out. He was more calm now, more soft-spoken, more mature, of course, more grounded, more considerate. He in fact did turn into a man. I was loving his company so much. We had some dinner and a few drinks. He told me he broke up 6 months ago. I asked as on why he didn't tell me, so he said he felt he had pushed me away and that I wouldn't want to listen. I told him that I would always listen. That night, we had way too much to drink while we were watching silly movies and he taught me how to play his PlayStation games. I sucked so bad at it. Eventually at some point things got really mellow, and he asked me, in a very drunken state, if he could kiss me. Well, the drunk me ended up kissing him. It wasn't a wild kiss. It was a mellow, slowed down, hearty, lovely little kiss with a beautiful song playing in the background, and with dim fairy lights. It was so perfect. Remembering it still gets me goosebumps. Nothing else happened that night, we just hugged and slept. I had to leave the next morning for some work, and I did. We didn't talk about it in the morning since both of us were so confused and caught off guard when sober. Safe to say I thought about it the entire week. He texted me about it, telling me that he was sorry for kissing me last night. I told him that I was okay with that, and he said it felt nice to, well, kiss me. I was really confused as to where it was going. I let it be, and concentrated on my work, pushing down these emotions. Eventually we started meeting more often and he began to open up more. The more we met, the more he would drink and pour his heart out about how depressing his breakup was, and that how this is the lowest point in his life. I wanted to help him get out of it, because he had helped me once too. I honestly wanted nothing out of it. I wasn't looking to date him still, but my heart ached at the sight of him being miserable, a face full of tears and swollen eyes and a broken heart. I just could not see him like that as a friend. Month later he invited me over again. This time we ended up having. He was quite happy before and during, but as soon as it was done with, he switched off completely. Not rude, but just. He started to look depressed again, drank some more, laid down next to me and asked me about my life, my experiences, my likes and dislikes. He told me he feels as if he has been trauma dumping a lot and somehow ignored me amongst all that. We talked a little about me before he started to fall asleep. Here's the part that hurt me a little. I began to caress his hair as he was beginning to fall asleep, but he very gently held my wrist as a gesture to stop. Which is okay, I respect boundaries. I slept next to him, in his clothes, turned away from him, scrolling some reels on Instagram to help fall asleep. Eventually I did, The next morning I woke up to him trying to cuddle me and kiss me. Eventually, we had once more, and he very lovingly dressed me up and dropped me at my apartment later on after lunch. He had hickeys on his neck, and he had to go to work. He didn't bother to hide them. In fact, he was in a good mood that morning. But then, he started to ignore my texts. My texts were nothing lovey-dovey, those were just normal texts. He started to sound more distant. It hurt me, it led me to believe that he got what he wanted, and now I am of no use to him. Months go by, and he stays in minimal contact, complimenting my pictures on social media here and there, dropping a few compliments once a week or so, but completely ignoring the part where he had to acknowledge or address what happened between us. I eventually start to like a guy and I start to date him, and right as I start to post pictures with him, Aki calls me up. He is all apologies and anxious. He told me that he liked me and wanted to be with me. I get annoyed as I almost yell at him, saying that all that time when I tried to communicate to you, you ignored me. Treated me nothing but a trauma-dumping yard, a friend with benefits. I understand you had some getting over to do before you could say anything to me, but you should have told me that. He apologized a lot, and said he was scared that he had with me because of the pent-up feelings or his loneliness, or if he really liked me. He told me he was not the man that he thought I deserved. He thought of himself as a drunkard, a weakling who couldn't handle his emotions, and he said he thought I deserved better than that, and he wanted to ask me out once he had become a better person. He said he felt terribly guilty that he missed a chance with me, because he was bad at communicating, and that he couldn't tell me up front that he liked me. And that he wanted to be with me. And as soon as he saw me with someone else, it made me bummed out that he wasted time. He should have just been transparent about his thought process all along. To that I said, that he is right, it's too late now, and that I have moved on from that. I wished him luck for his future and promised to stay a friend. By this time we were 22. Almost a year later, that is recently, I got to know I was being cheated on. It was devastating. I didn't leave my room for a month. I did think of contacting Aki, and run to his apartment, and just hug him and cry. But that wouldn't be fair. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to switch roles with him. I didn't want to be in his position in our dynamics. So I just suffered alone, and I think this was my battle to fight. Today I am doing much better than some time ago. It gets better with each day. I was updated about Aki. A month ago he told me that he has moved to Canada for 3 years to pursue a course. He would be back briefly next month for 40 days. We talk each day, we get closer each day. He has told me that he can't get over me. That he just can't even think of another woman after that night. That he just thinks about me all the time. I think I am beginning to like him again. Just a little bit. He has asked me out on a date next month when he comes back. I am so confused. Is it worth going? He sounds so genuine this time. He can't stop apologizing for the time he made me feel I was unwanted, when in reality it wasn't. He has quit drinking, he has started to look after himself and his mental health. He surely has improved himself. I don't know what to do. No matter how much of rationality is forced inside of me, at the end of the day I would still have an unnaturally high heart rate just at the sight of him, and world surely would again turn into super slow motion when he walks towards me with that beautiful smile,